Well, I won't tell anyone. I'd just love to know how you wangled it, that's all.
I didn't have to wangle it. I just asked if I could work with Dr. Field instead of Dr. Haslam.
To gain some experience of working with other people.
What's wrong with that?
It's a load of bull, that's what's wrong with it. You don't want to work with Dr. Haslam because Dr. Haslam works with Mrs. Sabatini. And Mrs. Sabatini does twice as many operations as Mr. Copeland, who just happens to work with Dr. Field. What you mean is you want some experience of working with someone who doesn't do so much work.
Yes!
Do you know, I've been here till 7:30 3 times this week. It's all right for her. Zooms off in a Mercedes and bungs a couple of pheasant in the microwave. The only time-saving device I've got is a key ring that bleeps when you whistle. You can try anything. My Way, the Yellow Rose of Texas, it still won't iron your unmentionables. If I don't leave here till 7:30, I don't get home till 8:30. By the time I've had a bath, cleaned up some catsup, cremated a couple of beef burgers and switched on the telly, they're showing Good Morning Britain. And there's her, saying nice early start in the morning, please.
Joe, can't we do something about all these patients?
Any suggestions?
Well, I don't know. What we always do. Put Mr. Copeland's further up the corridor and anyone from Mr. Hopeland outside Theatre 3.
That's what we are doing. All this lot's Mrs. Sabatini.
All of them?
Mrs. Watson!
Oh, God.
I think you know me well enough to accept that I don't like complaining.
No, you don't. It's amazing how often you manage it, considering.
Well, if that woman sends for any more patients, would she please build a flyover so I can get mine past?
Surely even she can only do one patient at a time.
And that's because she started doing the odd spleen with her feet.
I'm sorry. I'll have a word with her.
In all my years as a consultant surgeon, I've never seen anything like it.
Not 3 patients all on the same day, no.
Yes, Joyce, by
Yes?
the by. It's nothing important or anything like that. It's just that Simon Field tells me Michael's working with us for a while.
Yes, he asked if he could switch.
And that's all right, is it? That's allowed?
Why shouldn't it be?
What I mean is, we were perfectly happy with the other ODA. Katie.
Simon wasn't. He said she was too slow.
Oh?
I'm now sending for a sinus washout. And if necessary, I shall blast my way through with the territorials.
All right, I'm going. Now look, Sheila, I know you're trying to get your waiting list down.
I am getting it done.
No, you're not. It doesn't count if you just stick it in the corridor and wave to it now and
In
again.
the last 2 months, I've done more operations than Biggles managed in a lifetime.
Then what's going on?
It's not my fault, it's Jonathan. I just sent for 2 patients at the same time, thinking they're both 5-minute jobs. They'll be in and out like stud whippets. But for some reason, he's taking hours getting everyone off to sleep. My God, I've seen Mantovani do it in half the time in a supermarket.
He's usually quite fast.
Like most men, it's their one saving grace. No matter what they're up to, one rarely misses more than 10 minutes of the midnight movie.
I take it everyone's blaming me.
No, although we have narrowed it down to either you or Brer Rabbit.
Look, Jonathan, she's got patients stacked up in the corridor like delayed flights to Benidorm. Have you got a problem?
Well, it depends how you look at it. Patient's fine. Blood pressure, pulse rate, all normal.
So wheel him in.
Unfortunately, he's still wide awake.
Oh.
And before you say my God or Jonathan or some choice multisyllabic word ripped out of Gray's Anatomy with an exclamation mark stuck on the end, I'd just like to say it is your fault.
I see. You're going to qualify that, are you? Or emigrate to the Soviet Union?
If you didn't put so many patients on your list, I would be still working with Michael instead of that bimbo, Katie.
She's not a bimbo. She's a qualified ODA.
Oh, I know. Brilliant. Everything in its correct place. Tubes, drugs, syringes.
So?
I could never find a damn thing. Tubes, drugs, syringes. I don't want them in their proper place. I want them where we normally put them.
You're a consultant. Surely you just tell her.
I have done, till I'm blue in the face. She just says, well, that's not the way we were taught at St. Thomas's.
For God's sake. Use some authority. Put your foot down.
Sheila, it is like pulling teeth. It's not just the time spent putting everything back in its wrong place. She can't do a thing without doing it properly. Which is fine if I'm working the same way, but I haven't done anything by the book since 1975. So we both end up in a tangled mass of saline drip and elastoplast.
We'll have to get through this somehow. You'll just have to press on.
All right, but don't blame me if you're stood there like an unemployed clothes prop till next Pancake Tuesday.
Joyce, can we go and have a word with the patients? You know what it's like, just lying there, nothing happening.
No, I don't, but it sounds like bliss. I'm sorry about the wait. Shouldn't be too long now.
No, actually, it's quite interesting, really, watching what goes on.
A lot of the patients say that.
Who's that guy over there?
Oh, Michael. He's what we call an ODA. Does all kinds of things. Looks after the anaesthetic equipment, drugs. It's quite a responsible job, really.
He's got a nice bum, hasn't he?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. It's just that I was taught that the McBeanie pulse monitor wasn't very reliable. No one in St Thomas's uses it.
No one at St Thomas's uses it because the chap who invented it works here. Which is why, if you open any cupboard, about 10,000 drop out. Except in my anaesthetic room where I can't find one.
It is in there. I just put it away.
Well, just remember, I like to use it, all right? It may be junk, but it's small, simple to use, and if it does go wrong, we've got 9,999 more. About a third of which do work.
I'm sorry. I'll make sure it's always there in the future.
All right. See what I mean? She knows what she's talking about. I just can't work with her.
Then don't.
How do you mean?
Jonathan, at the rate we're going, we should have lunch around next Epiphany. If you can't work with her, then bunk her off to someone else.
Who?
Go on, then.
Simon? That ODA you used to work with, Katie.
Yes, I know. Terrible, isn't she?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I thought she was quite good.
You don't have to work with her. Ask Jonathan. She's terrible.
She knows her job.
That's the trouble, isn't it? I mean, she keeps using the right names for all the equipment. How do I know if I need a Barnes Henderson? If she said little tweezers with, knobs on the end, I might have a clue what she's on about.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, that is typical of you.
What?
You patently haven't given her a chance.
Oh, I see. I work with her for 3 months, whereas you two get fed up with her after 4 hours, and I'm the one who hasn't given her a chance.
I don't know what you mean. We both thought she was quite charming.
So everything's all right, then?
Definitely.
Fine.
But if you take her back, there's 10,000 quid in a locker at Victoria's.
No thanks.
If Jonathan has problems, I have problems. If I have problems, I expect you to do something about them.
Why?
Because I can't think what else you're here for. There's possibly for decoration. And we both know gladioli would have been cheaper. For a start, they don't wilt so fast.
Look, Sheila. Katie's a qualified ODA, trained at St Thomas's.
Michael trained at St Thomas's, but when he came here, he realised we do things differently.
Which she calls the wrong way.
Which it isn't.
Well, actually, it is, but we do it on purpose.
Exactly, because no one here gives a stuff about St Thomas's.
Look, the point is, all the ODAs here know their job. It's just that she knows a refined version that some of us aren't familiar with. It's a bit like music. She's reading the dots while the rest of us are bashing it out from memory with a forefinger and raw knuckles. It's still Beethoven, but you can't practice in the same room.
Well, I'm sorry you're stuck with her.
Why?
Because everyone else says the same thing. She's impossible to work with. When she ended up with you two, a sigh of relief shot up the corridor like a crash trolley.
Joyce, we've got a full list tomorrow, plus whatever Sheila adds on at the last minute.
What do you want me to do about it? I can't sack her for being too good at her job.
No, but you can get her transferred.
Where to?
Queen's Park Rangers, who cares?
Do you really mean that?
No, of course not.
Yes!
Oh, that's not like you.
Well, I try to be nice, but I've got a job to do, and I can't do it like this. And as long as I'm in charge of anaesthetics, I think she'd be better off in another hospital.
Can we do that?
Oh, yes, I'll just ring St Mary's. By the way, we've got another reject we're trying to shift. Of course, we can't do it. She'd have to apply. And she won't apply unless you find her a better job.
What?
More money. And if I know Katie, more responsibility.
You mean she gets a better job for being useless at the one she's got?
That's how I got mine. Or find her a job in a private hospital. That'd be even better.
How?
I don't know. Ask around.
So we thought, as you do more private work than the average tree surgeon, that you may have a few contacts.
To get this girl a job?
Yes.
I'm not sure I have, no.
And in exchange, your patients will be handed right-of-way stickers as they come up the corridor.
Of course, I am rather good friends with Charlie Macklin Smith at the Whitcliffe.
Excuse me, if I could just make an objective comment here. I find this totally outrageous.
Thank you. Charlie Macklin Smith Is some sort of big shot in surgery, is he, as opposed to a brewer's rep?
This girl has done nothing wrong except show a few amateurs the way the job ought to be done.
Neil, it was my idea. She doesn't fit in.
Well, I happen to think she does. Simon and I have worked with her for 3 months, never had a single complaint.
Well, actually...
Not one. And I'm giving you all notice as from now. If you try and boot her out, I shall kick up a stink they'll hear in shopping malls in Vladivostok. Think about it.
You can't hear a stink, can you?
Extraordinary behaviour.
Yes, well, if you'll excuse me, I'd better get going.
Simon?
Look, really, I don't know anything.
Yes, you do. And if you value your toenails, you'll squeal now.
It's not just because he likes working with her, is it?
Well, partly.
And?
And partly because they're having a thing together.
Thing?
My God! Neil Copeland's having a thing?
I'm sorry, Alba, I don't quite understand. Good Lord.
It's just a biopsy after the cryoprobe. It won't take long. You don't look very happy.
It's just I was going to go and see a film tonight.
Still make it, surely. What time's it start?
Just after the laparotomy and before the cryoprobe and biopsy.
Sister, you did choose this job.
I know. You wouldn't believe they'd give it to someone that thick, would you?
You've added another patient.
If you get a move on, there wouldn't be any problem. What did Michael say?
He's not coming back.
Nothing else?
Oh, plus a lot of other stuff I promised I wouldn't tell you.
Like what?
Well, I can't tell you, can I?
Well, of course you can. Look at Joyce. Swears secrecy unto death. Get her under a hairdryer. She spills the beans in 10 seconds flat.
What is it about women and hairdryers?
I didn't say women. I said Joyce. There is a difference. If I say Neil Copeland, I don't mean every two-faced rodent. I just mean Neil Copeland.
Is that what you think he is? A rat?
Yes, I do. It's sneaky. It's underhand.
And it means we can't get rid of the bimbo. I must say, it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. I mean, I know his wife, Diana. She's wonderful.
Now, why doesn't Michael want to work with us?
That's why. Sheila, your operating list is like a boil on the nose. Every time you look at it, it's got bigger. People like some time off now and again. They've got boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. Some of them, believe it or not, like to just go home and put their feet up instead of staying here half the night lopping a verruca off someone else's.
I don't do verrucas.
If there were one going spare, you'd shove it on that list.
Jonathan, people don't get ill one at a time in strict rotation. I am in general surgery. If somebody comes to me with a dodgy bile duct, I can't say, I'm sorry, I've done a gallstone this week. Come back with a broken leg, they're bored stiff in orthopaedics. Cases pile up. I have got a waiting list that the government wants me to cut, so long as it doesn't cost more than a few sticking plasters and some TCP. And I'm going to cut it!
The point is, I'm not really sure how to go about these things. What to say if we get invited round to their house for dinner or something.
Well, I don't think you're supposed to say anything.
No, just that Grace and I aren't very modern, you see. We've always felt that marriage was a lifetime's commitment. Unless one gets divorced, of course. But having an affair, well, naturally one's had opportunities. Any number. Good God, yes. But somehow I just thought it wasn't quite right.
No.
Then, of course, there's another problem.
Sorry?
My wife. She's not got many faults, God bless her, but the few she's got are rather on the big side, and one of them's a tendency to blurt things out. I mean, assuming Copeland's wife hasn't a clue what he's up to, what if my wife should suddenly let it slip out?
Well, I think the best thing is not to say anything to your wife.
Yes, or simply turn down any invitations. You know, this really is a mucky business. Diana Copeland does the best rack of lamb anywhere in the country. Fancy all that being put in jeopardy just because of some bit of fluff.
Well, maybe he doesn't see it that way.
Who?
Neil.
My dear chap, Neil Copeland can't stand lamb. I'm the one they always do it. Really is quite heartbreaking.
Oh, It's all right, old boy. I realise I'm persona non grata in polite circles.
I just left some chewing gum in my jacket.
I take it my name is Singeing Grapes as it whistles along the vine.
What do you want me to say? You know what this place is like. You can't walk in a room without being hit by a lump of flying gossip.
It's none of their business.
It's also the national sport. And round here, about 90% play for England. You going to sit there all day?
Possibly.
You know you can't smoke that in here.
I don't want to smoke it. I want to crawl inside the bloody thing and burn up! You got any idea what this is like? I'm the only surgeon in this hospital with 2 waiting lists. One of patients, one of ex-friends waiting to slap his chops. I'm having an affair, for God's sake. It's supposed to be fun.
Neil, there is no such thing as a happy adultery card. People don't send them.
No, I didn't mean that.
I don't know what you mean. Who said having an affair was going to be fun?
Well, there's got to be some reason why everyone does it. I mean, if you saw a demonstration, you'd give it 10 for potential.
Meaning?
Meaning, I thought at least I'd get as much out of it as I'm putting in.
Is it as bad as that?
How can I hold a scalpel when I'm shaking all the time like a ruddy food blender? I'm just worn out, that's all. I'm too old for all this. Here, look. Here. Come on! I'm taking off my trousers in Katie's flat, and my kids drop out of my pocket like spare change. I can't cope with that kind of thing. I'm not built for it.
Then pack it in.
I'm trying every week for days. I say, that's it, finished. Then we'll go out for a meal or just a walk or something. She's done something different with her hair or her makeup. Jonathan, she's not just flavour of the month. I'm in love with her.
I'm sorry, I won't be long.
Jonathan, no, look. This isn't going to work, is it? I mean, despite what Neil Copeland says, if we have serious problems, then I really think we should do something about Katie.
I know. Neil agrees.
What?
Neil agrees. Says it might be for the best. So, if you could have a word with George, see if he's got any ideas about finding her another job.
Excuse me, just a minute. This may seem like a minor reversal to you, but one of us just happens to be gobsmacked. Are you telling me that Neil Copeland now wants her to go?
Sheila, he's sitting in the changing room crying. Oh. He doesn't want to split up with her, but he can't cope. He's had enough.
I see.
So, I suggested it might be for the best if, you know, she went somewhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, if we had contacts with the mafia, we could probably get her whacked out for the price of a ravioli.
What?
Well, I mean, if Neil Copeland's had enough, let's be practical. I mean, all these obsolete women milling about, getting in the way. I seem to recall we had the same problem with hedgehogs a few years ago.
I take your point.
Nothing ever changes, does it? Man's had his fun, and now, as usual, the woman gets dumped, and you expect me to break out the champagne.
I'm sorry, I didn't think. So we'll stagger on then.
What?
You know, with Katie.
I didn't quite mean that.
But I thought...
No, she'll have to go, obviously. She's a pain in the neck.
Sheila, you don't seem to understand. We can't just find Katie a job. She's got to apply for it, and she won't do that if she thinks Neil Copeland wants to carry on carrying on.
Well, I naturally assumed he'd tell her he doesn't.
Well, he won't, because every time he sees her, he does.
Oh.
So now what?
Well, it's obvious. If Neil Copeland hasn't got the guts to tell her, then someone else will have to.
Yeah?
Jonathan, you seem to have gone pale.
I'm not sure I know anyone with that much guts.
I see. So, anyway, I thought someone ought to tell you. I know, strictly speaking, it's none of my business.
No, it isn't.
But when it affects the day-to-day running of my theatre, then I think it becomes my business.
Can I ask you a question, just woman to woman?
Yes, of course.
Who the hell are you?
I'm sorry?
Well, I've seen you around, but I can't say I actually know you, and as far as I can remember, you don't know me either, but you've still decided I'm some tart you'd be better off getting rid of.
I never said that once.
Well, that's why you're here, isn't it? See if I'd fancy another job somewhere else.
Katie, if we have problems, then something has to be done. You know Dr. Haslam finds it difficult to work with you.
So? I find it difficult to work with him. I don't see anyone telling him to get lost.
No.
Do you know, I thought it was going to be rather nice working with a female surgeon. But as far as I can see, you're just one of the boys. When you get to the top, no one else matters but you. I'm causing problems? You get rid of me. You fancy working late at night? Everyone else has to muck in. But your slip's showing, Mrs. Sabatini. Because unlike everyone else, when you get home at night, there's nobody there. That's why you work late every night. And that's why you've enjoyed telling me that Neil's going to give me the big elbow. Because underneath all the Cartier and the Guy Laroche, you're just a lonely, miserable old bag. And you want everyone else to be the same. Don't bother finding me another job. Sack me.
Would somebody please say something?
Well, I don't think you're an old bag.
Thank you. That'll do for a start.
And you're certainly not miserable. Well, only because she made you miserable by saying you were.
And let's face it, someone had to go in there and tell her she'd been dumped.
Ready back on. Why?
Because we got work to do. And we couldn't do it with all that going on.
At last, someone who realises I don't do everything for my own enjoyment.
Of course you don't. Some things you have to do because it's part of your job.
Yeah, for the good of the patient.
That's right.
Which is why sometimes we have to work late to get the waiting list done.
Yes.
For the good of the patients.
Thank you, sister. Nice early start in the morning, sis.
Me and my big mouth.